Alrighty. Good evening, everybody. At 7 p.m. It is August 3rd. It's a Tuesday, which means it's time to kind of catch up, say hi, find out how your week was, drink some Virginia wine, and start our new bundle. So let's pull up, and if you're out there, say hello, tell us where you're calling from. I'm so excited to kind of start the next three wines, talk about what's going on at Keswick Vineyards, and share some wine with you. So let's get some people in. Just want to make sure that we are working, because it's 7:01 and we haven't got a single person on yet. Love, are we live? Are we good? Can you see us? Okay. Let's go live now. Something's wrong.
I don't know. It was supposed to go automatically.
That's fine. Okay.
I already did all this, so.
So something about this rosé all day. That's fine. Go live. There we go. Alrighty, good evening. If we're late to the party at 7:02, technical issues, but the tech whiz Kath Schoenberg, aka my beautiful wife, has got it together. Good evening, everybody, and this is take two. Tell us where you're from, tell us where you are, and let's see who is there. So, greetings to the Sugamellis, Virginia Wine Time, Paul and Warren. It's been a long time since we've seen those two guys. We're going to talk about Paul Armstrong's sort of attire and post that wonderful photograph. We got Kathy Harden, Aaron and Kathy from Chester. We got Matthew Fitzsimmons, Kelly Goff, Jenna Morrison, James Belitho, Tracy France. I missed someone. Stephanie Ten, Stephen Tom, Mount Vernon. Lovely to have you guys. There's Glenn Johnson. Glenn and Debbie are always calling in from Corolla and the Outer Banks. We got Kathy Clifton. Virginia Wine Time says we're home in DC. We enjoyed our time with you. And likewise, we'll talk a little bit about that. We got Matthew Fitzsimmons, just watching today, detoxing after this weekend. Matt also said, by the way, Kath, big shout out to you for allowing me to go out and do that. So Jim McClue from Muncie, Indiana is with tonight. So Marsha Sugamelli, big shout out to Jim. Friends and families of the Sugamellis are friends and families of ours. Lovely to see you. We've got Erica Johansson and Lynn Pantos. Good evening to all. We've got folks calling in from Davenport, Florida, and that's obviously the Frances. Not calling from France, although that would be an amazing place right now. Michael France, Pat Wilkinson, always a shout out to Pat and Harvey. And they say they're having a quiche and salad, a great pairing with the rosé. We've got Earl Greaser, Janet and Earl, OHIO. Lovely. We've got the Raiders from Ohio, John and Becky. And Kathy Clifton says, happy anniversary. Thank you, Kathy. Very much appreciated. So, welcome to everybody. You know, it's 7:04. Let's give it one more minute. Pull up a seat. Get comfortable. Get your glass of rosé. And if not rosé, drink something else. But make sure it is local. This is about supporting Virginia wine, supporting the Virginia industry, talking, learning, sharing about all things wine. And as always, this is live. It's unscripted. Questions are welcome. Comments, positive and negative, are welcome. We will try and answer everything as they come up. So let's say one or two. Glenn Johnson says, Been on alcohol unfriendly medication off to now. So tonight's a celebration with rosé. Well, I hope you're doing well. I hope that medication is not for something serious. But Glenn, always lovely to have you, and thank you so much for your time. And we got Laura Purdy. So drinking the 2018 painted white. If you're going to drink something, a Blenheim painted white is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful wine. We got Patricia Napoleon. Thank you so much. So let's jump into it, shall we? And as always, let's just do this very quickly. A lot of things going on. Hope you've had a wonderful week. Hope you've had a wonderful weekend. A little bit cooler temperatures. You've got to be enjoying the respite from this crazy heat. 81s and 82s in this part of the world. Enjoy it because it's going to get back up. Wonderful weekend. Obviously a big shout out to my lovely wife. Anniversary number 12 has gone by in a blur. I'm a little bit in trouble because I did work on our anniversary. So Paul and Warren and Frank Morgan, you owe me big time, and you owe something big and shiny and floral for Kath. But Got to spend some time with some wine writers with the Monticello Media event. So thank you to Frank, Nancy Bauer, and New World Wine Consulting for everything they did. Had a wonderful time sharing the stage with some incredible winemakers, pouring wines for some enthusiasts, and then at King Family Vineyards for hosting us on Monday with the seminars. It was really lovely. But tonight we start our new bundle, and the schedule, by the way, is tonight we're doing the 2020 Estate Reserve Rosé. Next week we have a guest, and we're going to keep it a surprise, so you join in. The following week we'll do our Le Vendange 2020 Syrah. We have a guest the following week, and we finish up with our 2019 Block 7 Cabernet Sauvignon. So very exciting. I hope you got the wines. I hope you chilled them. And at the end of the day, let's have some fun and God bless. So let's talk about the wine. I do want to be honest and say that I was at work today. It was a busy day, and I had the rosé open. Thank you to Carol and Doug Stackpole, who came in early this morning and wanted to try it. So I opened it, I tried it with them, and then I left the winery and didn't take it with me. So what I thought I'm going to do is I'm going to drink something from the past. So I'm going to drink the 2005 rosé from Keswick Vineyards, which is really cool. It's Malbec, Merlot, Syrah, Touriga, and Cabernet Sauvignon. But I did try the 2020, and we're going to talk with it, but I don't have it in my glass. Right now, I actually have our 2020 Chardonnay, which if you don't have that, you should look out for it. It is a beautiful, beautiful wine. So always cheers to your health, to your families, love, God bless, and all of that jazz. So, Chardonnay gone. Let's open up some rosé and talk about what I think is just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful wine. And a wine that I really, really think, we should talk a little bit about. We should have those conversations about rosé. So let's dispel some myths though. Rosé is not always sweet. It's not sort of a byproduct of bad winemaking or a rubbish year. Rosés in certain parts of the world make incredible, incredible wines. So rosés for me, again, I've said this in the past, I love Provençal rosés. I also love rosés from Tavel and Lirac, which is not Provence, but it's the left bank of the Rhone in the southern Rhone. But you get rosés everywhere. You get rosés in California, South Africa, Australia, obviously in the Loire and in Provence. And I think they can make some really incredibly diverse, food-friendly, and I mean, you think of Provence, you're in the Mediterranean, so Mediterranean cuisine, acidity, brightness, layers of fruit. They get ripeness, so you get richness, you get texture, you get balance. They are incredibly complex wines, yet simple and drinkable and luscious and delicious. And I think if you love wine, you owe it to yourself to kind of focus on the rosé market and the segment. Now, rosé, what is rosé? It's obviously a wine that's pigmented. Now, I've got this as an example, so that's what I'm showing it. If you have the Reserve Rosé, you'll notice, number one, it is very, 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 very light. It has a slight pink tinge to it, coral, a little bit of a salmon or an onion skin color. But when we talk about rosés, we're not talking white, we're not talking red. It's darker than a white, it's lighter than a red. But it's essentially anything that is pink, right? So rosés could be blush, and it could be made in a variety of methods. The obvious method, and it happens a lot in the New World, maybe not a lot, but it does happen, it's allowed to, is where you blend a little bit of red into white. In the Old World, That's a little bit, or the EU rather, it's a little bit frowned upon, but in Champagne that is quite common, is actually to blend a little bit of red wine or base wine into the white wine. So that's one way you can add a little bit of color to the white. Now, how much color? That's certainly up to the winemaker, the style, the vintage, and the varietals you used. The other two ways are really interesting. You can do a direct press method where you actually take the red fruit, you chill it down, it's whole cluster pressed, and that juice comes out slightly pigmented, which is what we did and what we're going to be talking about. The other way is the bleed off of the Saignée method. Now, the Saignée method is where you're harvesting reds, you're harvesting the reds and you're picking them at riper sugars, developmental tannins. You're looking for the kind of characteristics that'll allow you to make a really bold red. So we're picking Cabernet, you're getting 24, 25 bricks. The seeds are green, the tannins are crunchy, the skin is almost dimpling, it's like a golf ball, you have that senescence. You've got developmental flavors, it goes from red spectrum to dark spectrum, you're looking at acidity, and you pick those grapes with the intention of making a really, really lovely red. Now you look at the color. With red wines, you're getting about 160 gallons per se. Now that is a theoretical gallon per ton. Certain varietals might give you less, certain varietals might give you more. By the way, just want to show you, there's the cork. The integrity of the cork on a 15-year-old wine is beautiful, natural cork. Very different change than what you have right now. But then you destem, you crush, you do whatever it goes, and then as that must is sitting in the tank, 3 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, 12, 24, 48, you're drawing off a certain percentage. Say you have 160 gallons, you've harvested 5 tons, so you're looking at 800 gallons, maybe you take 80 gallons off. You're bleeding essentially 10% of that juice. Now that juice is still juice, it's got some pigmentation because it's on contact with the skins, it's extracting some of the anthocyanins, it's not extracting tannins, and then you treat that like a white wine. You could put it in tank, you could put it in barrel, but now you ferment what is a lightly pigmented juice. Now, the primary goal of that method is to concentrate what remains in the tank. The concentration thereof is to reduce the juice to skin ratio of what remains in the tank. So the resulting red wine is darker, richer, more extracted. You have more sort of polyphenolic compounds. You have more anthocyanins. So essentially you make a little bit more of a complicated, more sort of bolder Cabernet Sauvignon. The byproduct of that is essentially a juice that is now high in sugar because it was picked at higher sugar levels for red, so 24, 25 bricks, whatever it may be, which translates to higher than what we would like to get alcohol for our rosés, and the flavor profile is a little bit different. So let's jump into it. Again, transparency, I left the 2020, so I am drinking a 2005. That's not bad, actually. That's pretty cool. All right, so 2020, rough year. God, it was a rough year. Forget COVID. We had so many frost days and frost events where we were down to like that 32, 31, 33. We had 8 days at the property, and on Mother's Day, which was May 13th and 14th, we obviously lost a great deal of our vineyard. Now with Cabernet, as you know, we do the block 3 and the block 7. Very, very special fruit, very special blocks, and ultimately what we want to do is actually make those wines and manifest a single varietal Virginia Cabernet, a Cabernet that's dark fruited, silky tannins, balance, elegance, amplification, age worthy, because our 17, which we're pouring right now, spent almost 3 years in the barrel, 34 months. So we always intend to make red wines and varietal wines, which is what we would like to do. Now, obviously, Mother Nature had other plans for us and said, you know what, you've had a wonderful year in 19, we're going to screw things up, and we are going to see how you can do with 20. So along comes this frost, we lose a lot of fruit. It's a restart, so to speak. We got a little bit of secondary fruit. We had some primary clusters that made it through frost and got through that. So you manage the fruit, you have a lower crop. The shorter growing season is a little bit of a handicap. You're really starting again from May. And with Cabernet, obviously, you're looking for hang time, you're looking for flavor development. We're looking at about 180 days of growth after bud break, which is really 6 months. So from May, you're looking at June, July, August, September, October, November. Very difficult to harvest really ripe grapefruit in November. So we knew that the growing season was going to be short. that the late season varietals were going to struggle to produce sugar, but we were hopeful because we had a very small crop, we had a great canopy, the canopy was green, we had some sunshine, and we were hopeful. But getting into harvest in the beginning, as you know, we've done last week the Le Vendange Rosé, which was a blend of the Verdejo and the Vidal and the Chardonnay and the Viognier and the Merlot and the Cab Franc, the Petit Verdot, the Syrah, the Chambourcin, the Norton, and the Touriga. We knew those things would come off, they would make in a rosé. But with the Cabernet, we were looking and hopeful. And then, when we harvested, we got to 20.5 bricks. And, I remember calling Al and saying, look, we want to make a red. We could possibly make a red, but it's going to be a little green. It's going to be a little thin. It's certainly not going to be a Cabernet that we want to slap a label on it, a block designation on it, because you, the consumer, really knows the quality of wine that hopefully Keswick produces, especially with Cabernet. So we knew at that point that, hell, we're not going to make Cabernet. Can we make a Trevelyan? Can we make a Consensus? Can we make a red wine that could be used in a blending component? And we felt that we possibly could. We could have blended some stuff into it, but just for the transparency and the authenticity of the brand, we said, look, let's look at this from a totally different aspect. Let's make a phenomenal rosé from Cabernet. All right. So then your picking parameters change a little bit. You're not looking for sugar, you're looking for acid, and you're looking for vibrancy. You're looking for flavor development, but you're not looking for these overripe flavors and these dark spectrum. You're looking for red fruits instead of dark fruits. So cherries and the raspberries and the currants and the strawberries and a little bit of that pomegranate. So when you're smelling this wine, these are the sort of flavors you're supposed to be getting. Sort of quite floral, quite perfumey, white flower and white blossom. But it's generally going to be that cherry, strawberry, currant, pomegranate, raspberry, red plum kind of characteristics. Now again, I do apologize, I don't have the wine in front of me, so if you are tasting it and smelling it and swirling it and sippy sip and sniffy snill and swirly swirl and drinky drink, let me know what sort of things you're getting. All right, so we picked the fruit. It was all picked by hand, very careful selection. We did have a little damage due to bird damage and deer damage, so very, very careful selection of the fruit picked into 25-pound lug boxes, picked up, taken straight to cold storage and chilled down to about 35 degrees. Really cold. And now you're thinking, do we crush, do we stem, do we leave stuff on the skins? We looked at the skins were kind of chewy, they were kind of astringent, they were quite phenolic, they had some bitterness to it, and we thought, you know what, whole cluster pressing is the way to go. Press it very, very gently, and that's what we did. The cold fruit was transferred to the press, transferred into an elevator, basically a conveyor belt. It runs the fruit up into the press and pressed the juice incredibly gently. So basically gave it a hug, not a squeeze, and got a very lightly pigmented juice that came out of it. So this is made like a Vin Gris, right? That juice is protected, SO2, dry ice, nitrogen, inert gases, and that juice is run immediately into a tank that's got chilling on it. We're arresting the fermentation. We want to make sure that the fermentation doesn't happen. Press about 65 to 75% of the yield that we would have got. We found that we were getting a little bit of astringency, we were getting a coarseness, the juice was losing a little bit of character, and we said, that's it, we're done, we're finished. About 65 to 75% of the juice. So I think we harvested like 6.5 tons, and we ended up making about 690 gallons worth of wine. All right, so now we got this juice. It's got a beautiful coral pink, lovely color, and then you're thinking, well, what do? We've got this Le Vendange that's fermenting in tank. It's got these bright, vibrant flavors. It's floral, it's citrus, it's stone fruit, it's got minerality. If we're going to make a different rosé, let's stick it in a barrel. Let's give it some texture. Let's give it some weight. Let's give it some richness. Give it some layers. So let's do that. So settled the wine. We use a pectolytic enzyme. And what is an enzyme? An enzyme is a catalyst. It speeds up a process. Pectin holds a lot of things together, so it breaks that down, and all those solids settle to the bottom of the vessel. Now we measure turbidity in something called NTUs, or nephol turbidity units. You don't want the wine to be, or the juice to be super clear, and you don't want the wine to be super turbid. There's certain issues with that. So we were looking at around 120 NTUs. We measure that and we transferred and we rack the juice from tank and we racked it directly to barrel. Now, what is racking? A lot of people say, what is racking? Well, racking is when you have a vessel and you have sort of a cylinder in a rectangular shape. At the bottom of the vessel is going to be the very heavy solids. And as you go up, the wine gets clearer and clearer and clearer. So what we're doing is we're drawing off cleaner wine from those solids. So we're leaving behind a portion of, essentially it looks like sludge. It's very thick. It's quite green. It's quite gray. We leave that behind. And that clearer juice was run into barrels. The barrels. All right, we talk about barrels a lot. So the barrels we used, when you're trying to make a wine that's bright and red fruited, you certainly don't want barrels that are heavily toasted. You don't want mocha and espresso and coffee and charred wood. We decided not to use American oak. American oak is going to give you a lot of coconut and vanilla, which I guess might be nice in rosé, but we're looking for French oak, so a little bit of tannin, tighter grained, very minimal extraction of oak. We bottled the Reserve Rosé. When did we bottle it? June 24th. So it's been in the bottle for about 6 weeks. So when we spoke about barrels, we spoke about let's use French. Let's go with sort of medium plus toasting, but let's use barrels that have some age on them. Let's use some barrels that have been used prior and are not going to impart a lot of oak. And then we also added 2 stainless steel tank barrels. They're shaped like a barrel. One had French oak heads on and one had acacia heads on. And then the fermentation occurred in barrel. Now, fermentation is an exothermic reaction. And what that means is exothermic gives off. Think of exiting a building, gives off, versus endothermic. And the reason for that, fermentation goes through something called the glycolytic pathway. And it's very much glucolysis, which is glucose turning into pyruvate, and it's generating heat in the form of NADH or ADP. So it's adenosine triphosphate. So it's giving off heat. Now, the way we control fermentation is we control the rate of fermentation through glycol. Now, when you're in a barrel is a great insulator. Even if the ambient environment temperature is quite cold, the barrel's going to hold that fermentation temperature. So we added commercial yeast. We used a Saccharomyces cerevisiae yeast. And we chose it for retention of acid, bright red spectrum fruit profiles, and then we didn't feed it. We didn't give it a lot of food. We try to stress the yeast. We try to slow down the fermentation process. It's certainly not as cool as the fermentation in the tank, but we want to make sure that we didn't get to 90 degrees and we were done in 3 days. So very low nitrogen level, which we measure in terms of YAN, which is yeast assimilable nitrogen, meaning that the nitrogen that can be assimilated by the yeast. And fermentation took place over around 12 days. Now, it's very, very, very short. The red wines in the tank are about 5 or 6, but they're fermenting at 90 degrees. White wines in tank at 50, 55 degrees controlled, they're fermenting for about 21 to 28 days. So the fermentation was pretty active, it was pretty vigorous, and we fermented all the way through. Now, this wine doesn't have any residual sugar. Now, residual sugar is defined very simply as the sugar that remains in the wine. And the sugar that remains in the wine is going to impart either the sweetness in terms of dry, off-dry, medium dry, sweet, semi-sweet, and so on. So this wine has got 0.2 grams per liter, 22%, which means it's 2 grams per liter, which is not enough sugar for the palate to pick up that there's sugar in the wine. So it is dry. And a lot of people say, well, how is it dry if there's sugar in the wine? Well, that's easy. Not all sugars are fermentable. Now, when we're talking about sugars, we're talking about glucose and fructose and sucrose. But there are those 5 carbon, which is your pentose. Remember your carbon in organic chemistry: methane, ethane, propane, butane, pentane. So 5 carbons. Sugars are pentose sugars, and that's your xarabinose, your xylose, and these are unfermentable. So you have some residual sugar in the wine, but the palate cannot pick up the sugar in the wine as well. All right, so it is regarded as a dry wine. All right, so clear wine. It's clarity, because the wine is cold stabilized, and sorry, that's a political call coming in, so don't want to do political right now. So the wine is sterile filtered because the wine does not go through ML. Now, when you smell the wine and taste the wine, you should be getting a brightness. You should be getting a green apple, citrus kind of nose in there as well, right? And malum, malic acid, Latin word for green apple. So green apple, Granny Smith. We wanted to retain the acid. We didn't want to turn it into lactic acid, which means the fermentation, which is done through lactic acid bacteria, takes that malic acid and turns it into, or takes that malic acid, turns it into lactic acid. So green apple, sharp, crisp, vibrant, tart, and bright, to softer, rounder, richer, creamier. You get that yogurt, that cream cheese, that sort of diacetyl, which is butane 2,3-diol, which is butter. So we didn't want that. We wanted the conservation of acidity to balance out a little bit of that texture and that richness that comes from the barrel as well. So we're talking about balance. What is balance? Balance is when all the components in the wine are harmonious, so nothing stands out. So you've got acid, you've got alcohol, you've got fruit, and you've got tannins. Certainly no tannins, essentially, from the fact that this is not fermented on the skins. You've got acid. When you taste this wine, you should get a tingling on the tip of your tongue. So put the wine in your mouth, swirl it around like if it were mouthwash, swallow the wine, and feel how that tip of the tongue just salivates. And it's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. When I tasted this wine this morning, the acid was really, really vibrant. It was really sharp, not sharp like a lemon where you pucker, but it's got lovely, lovely, lovely acidity, right? Then what we want is a transition from acidity to mid palate and back palate. The way that happens is because this wine has some semblance of oak characteristics. Now, what oak gives you, other than sort of oak-derived sort of flavors, is tannin. What is a tannin? Tannin is a polyphenolic compound that by definition precipitates and binds with proteins, right? So it's going to react with the proteins in your saliva. So tannins, you get sort of a furriness on your teeth, but you get it in the mid palate and the back palate. It has that sort of drying sensation. Now the tannins here are minimal, so they're not going to be like a coarse, drying, bitter, astringent kind of tannin. It's going to be soft and supple, and you're going to get the acidity, but you're going to get the wine moving to the back of the palate as well. Then we always talk about weight of the wine. What sort of weight? It's a medium. Think of it like milk. 2% milk, full cream milk, skim milk. How that milk feels in your palate, that is the weight on the wine, and then obviously the finish, right? The finish. How long does that wine persist on the palate? Now, the persistence of positive flavors. It's when the positive flavors disappear, that's when you know the finish is done. If negative flavors persist, we don't count that as well, right? We don't want negativity, we want amplification of positive flavors. So beautiful color. Swirl the wine around. When you taste this wine, tasting it at a slightly warmer temperature is going to give you a lot more sort of aroma and a lot more sort of flavor. Enjoying the wine in terms of when you're going to drink a full glass and with dinner or on its own, I would serve this just slightly chilled. I wouldn't over chill it, because I think you're going to mute some of the really delicate floral and red fruited aromas, and I think you're also going to slow down, or you're going to sort of minimize the effect of the acidity. And what I really love with rosés is the acid and the acid and the acid. That acid makes the wine age-worthy, makes the wine food-friendly, it makes the wine drinkable on a hot day. But this for me is a wine that really is a fall kind of season kind of wine. I also think with our reserve, our state reserve, our barrel fermented rosés, we're talking about 1 to 2 years in the bottle, maybe 3. Now, when we talk whites and rosés, it's always, we got to buy it, we got to drink it, we got to enjoy it, we're going to enjoy it. Not necessarily. This wine will take another 6 months to a year to a year and a half to really evolve and express and develop complex flavors and aromas. And again, tasted it this morning and was really enthused about how the acid was there, how the oak was minimal, how elegant and delicate and really fruit forward it was. And it does show you that in a negative vintage, or a vintage that rather gives you a lot of stress factors in terms of rain and frost, there is a use for incredible fruit. And the great thing about rosé is you're not looking for ripeness. Obviously, you're looking for acid, you're looking for balance, and I hope you get that. I'd love to hear your comments. If you've got this wine and you're tasting it and drinking it, please let me know. But I am going to digress, because I don't get a lot of chances to drink a 2005. Now, obviously, the label, that's cool. That is the pond. It is a photograph that's been taken. Whoop, let me hold it up a little bit. Let me jump into the 5. Now, certainly the color is a lot darker. It has this sort of coppery rusticity, burnt orange color. If you can see, do you want to smell it? Giving it to my wife. She's got the nose, so she's looking, she's thinking, she's giving me the old She hasn't gone acetone or VA. No, it's quite fresh. It's quite bright actually, but it's aged.
It's not very fruity.
No. Great point. Saying not really fruity. What do you say? Oh, caramel. Caramel is a tertiary flavor, absolutely, without a doubt. So certainly, the color is God. How would you describe that? It's more like copper, like a burnt orange. This is liquid sunset in a glass. That is the way to do it. When the sun goes down and it's just before it goes down and peaks below the horizon, you get that sort of burnt orange color. It is gorgeous. All right, so nose. Yeah, like toffee and caramel. That sort of aged. Has a little bit of a nuttiness to it. And I think that's more sort of an oxidative character. The allergy. I brought a second bottle just in case. I thought maybe one might be spoilt, and the fact that I have two 2005 bloody rosés in the house is phenomenal. I couldn't find an 18 or a 19, so 2005 it is. The cork is great. Look at that. Firstly, natural cork. If you opened up the Reserve Rosé, you'll notice that it's a Diam. It's a technical cork. Natural cork is great, but it can dry out, so storage of the wine is very important. It also can impart something called 2,4,6 TCA or trichloroanisole. Can make the wine like wet paper or wet dog and be cork taint. So the Diam corks, it still has the effect of putting a screw, a corkscrew in and pulling it out, and that people love that. It's a certain amount of oxygen, but it's TCA free. The wine's never going to be spoiled because of the closure. All right. So jumping off topic a little bit. Yeah, not a lot of fruit, which you should expect. It's got a lot of sort of toffee. It's got a lot of sort of caramel. It's got a little bit of a nuttiness, like an almond, like a blanched almond. It's actually really, really pretty, but it's not volatile. It doesn't have acetone, which is the acetic acid or ethyl acetate rather. But at the end of the day, no one said this is a great smelling wine. I'm going to put it aside. We're going to drink the stuff. So let's see. So this carries itself a little bit more like a red wine. Did you try it? Would you like to try it? It carries it's a little more like a red wine. Just double check the blend is Merlot, Syrah, Malbec, Touriga, and Cabernet Sauvignon. Obviously, Syrah and Malbec we've pulled out of the ground in the last couple of years. So it's got a little bit more tannin. It's quite fleshy. The finish is a little short, obviously. You expect it's still quite bright. There's no alcohol to speak of. Let me see what the alcohol was. A lot of people asking, what is the alcohol? I know by law we got to put it on the label. 13%. 2005 was a wonderful vintage. It has that sort of sherry-esque kind of nose. Now, I love sherries. And if you know, sherry is generally Palomino and the Sherry Triangle, Jerez de la Frontera and San Luca de Barrameda and Puerto de Santa Maria, and Palomino, and you get your sort of biological and then your sort of oxidative aging. It has a little bit of that. It has that toffee walnut character that comes with sort of oxidative aging, and I find that to be more sort of those are your Finos and Manzanitas. It doesn't have the salinity because you're not on the coast, obviously, but it has that sort of slightly oxidative kind of characteristics, and really, 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 really pretty. Marsha says, do you still have Malbec planted? Marsha, we do not. We actually pulled out the Malbec. We had 5 rows. We planted more Merlot. The reason for that is Malbec it's a beautiful wine, and essentially 2010 was the last vintage that we made. It was a dry year, made a beautiful, beautiful Malbec. But up until that, it was okay. It wasn't inspiring. We would blend it and didn't make it into our reserve wines, didn't make it into didn't make it into our Bordeaux blends, and as such, it's planted on great dirt on a perfect part of the property. And we said, Merlot is definitely, back then we thought, and I still think, Merlot is a varietal that we really, really, really need to focus on. So we pulled the Malbec out, as we did with the Syrah. Now, a lot of people know that Syrah is one of my favorite varietals in the whole wide world, and I'm super, super pumped and excited to kind of share our Syrah with you in 2 weeks' time. But we also have to be cognizant of the fact that our vintage variation, our short growing season, and the variability in weather really wasn't suited for Malbec. I think Malbec, if you think of Malbec, you think Argentina, obviously in the Maipo Valley. You also think Malbec from the Cahors region in France. Malbec outside of that is generally a blender. So we pulled it out, but up until 2010, we were using it in various applications in rosé and certain other wines as well. Michael Bissett says, do you keep track of what wines you keep around for so long? Not really, certainly I was digging through wines and I have way too much wine just stuck away in the room downstairs, and boxes and boxes and boxes, and was looking for a rosé. I was hoping to get like a Le Vendange or an Estate Reserve from 19, the Touriga, so I at least had something to have with you. And then I thought, 2005, that's an intriguing little guy, pretty wine, so let's drink along with you, but certainly not something I would recommend aging for 15 years. Now, if you're out there and you have a bottle of 2005 for purely entertainment purposes, for purely an expression of age-worthy, sort of a nutty, funky, beautifully aged rosé, this is actually bloody good. Age it for 15 years? Hell no, don't do that. The bottle, I'm probably going to open up the second bottle and have a look, because I don't imagine the second bottle is going to be exactly like that. I think there's going to be some variability there as well. Alison Turcal says, could you grow Torrontés? So Torrontés is a very, very aromatic grape. Obviously, I think very much an Argentinian grape. And if you think about Argentina, and you think of, when I think of Torrontés, I think Salta and Cafayate, which is up in the northern part, and that's at altitude. You're looking at 2,000 meters, or is it feet? Maybe 2,000 meters above sea level. So extremely cold, retention of acidity. It's like I would put it into Sauvignon Blanc, something like that. We have wonderful soil, I think, in something like that could grow. We just don't have the cool temperatures that I think it would need. So I love Torrontés. I don't drink a lot of it, but the ones I've had from South America and are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But I don't see us being able to make an incredible Torrontés on the property. Matthew Fitzsimmons, we should help him inventory it. Oh no, didn't see any 2009 cabs. What a shame. I still have a lot of the 9s and the 10s and the 14s and the 16s and the 17s, and still got 6s and 7s in terms of heritage. So yeah, we do age our reds, we do age some of our Chardonnays, certainly not 15 years, but I think our rosé, especially in a reserve application, you're looking at 2 to 3 years. The wine really is beautiful. It's layered, it's complex, it's food friendly, it's bright, it's richer than the LVA. But certainly 15 years is a stretch for a lot of wines, even reds. There are certain red wines that drink beautifully down the line, but I think mostly if you gave reds 3 to 5, 6, 7 years, that is great. So to have a 15-year-old anything is quite special. So we really appreciate it. So keep the comments coming. Let us know what the rosé is doing, how it's smelling, what you think about it, what you would pair it with, what serving temperature. Let us know. So let me reach out to Kath and find out if we have any questions that I haven't seen. So hello my love, happy anniversary for Sunday. I am so sorry I worked, but as I've told everyone, we've still got 50 to go, so I've got 15 more chances to make it up to you, my love. So happy anniversary, 12 years, 19 together, and you know what, it's gone like that. When you're with someone so awesome and so cool. We got married yesterday. She still looks the same like our wedding day. So, what? Maybe a bit more tired, but certainly just as beautiful. Just beautiful, but tired. So, hey, what kind of questions or comments do we have on the rosé on anything?
Yes, most of them are doing along. But Matthew Fitzsimmons asked, "What T-shirt are you wearing today?"
Oh, so I got to admit, my T-shirt game was spot on, Matt. I appreciate it. Tonight, because we are Tasting Tuesday, it is Tasting Tuesday got to represent. Branding is important. But on Sunday, I had, being a winemaker is easy. It's like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire. You're downhill, you've got no brakes, everything's on fire, and you're in hell. So that was my Sunday t-shirt. My Monday t-shirt was my Tyrannosaurus Rex. You know, my Daddysaurus Rex. My dinosaur t-shirt with my 4 little dinosaurs. And I said, if you mess with my dinosaurs, you're going to get Jurassic. And, you know, love them. They're very sentimental. But tonight, I'm just rocking the grey with the white, the Tasting Tuesday shirt, because, you know, this is what it is. Marsha Sugameli says, how is the vineyard looking? Vineyard's looking great. You know, dry year, canopy looks great. Fruit quality looks great. Very, very excited about the potential to make some really incredible wines. You know, guys are working hard in the vineyard, doing the work, getting in there, and I am excited to have incredible Cab Sav, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, Merlot. I honestly have not been this excited to make some red wines for a while. This might be a phenomenal year. So the vineyard's looking great. It's disease-free. It's clean. The canopy is balanced. You know, the guys are hard at work taking care of the weeds and mowing. And it's, you know, final stretch. But it's been a wonderful year. And super pumped to make some wine. And also, a lot of people, anything new, we are making for the first time a Petit Manseng. So, you know, really excited. But thank you for that. Marsha also says, when will you begin harvesting? So we generally harvest like 26th, 7th, and 8th, somewhere there in August. And the first in, gosh, here I am bleeding again, my lord. I swear, I don't know what it is. That's what's on my shirt. We will harvest the Chardonnay, which is normal. And then we take about a 10-day break, and that's when the Viognier and the Merlot and the Touriga come in. This year, by the way, a lot of people have been asking us, are we going to be making rosé from Touriga? This year we're going to be making red wine. You know, in terms of V squared, Jenna Morrison asks, the V squared, we have very little Verdejo. We're hopeful. We're trying. We it's a wine that we want to make. We want to present to you. You know, 19 was a long time. 2 years to wait for V squared is tough. But certainly we're going to be making 2 Viogniers. We're going to be making 2 Chardonnays. We're going to try and make a V squared. And then we're going to look at Petit Manseng. Petit Manseng is looking lovely. We're going to try and make a dry Petit Manseng. You know, but it's our first crack at it, so get us. But what I am most excited about is the reds. So we're going to make Touriga Nacional. We haven't done that for a while. We haven't done that since, 2017. So we're going to make Touriga Nacional. But the Merlots and the Cab Francs, the Cab Savs, and the Petit Verdot. Jenna Morrison says, hold up, did you say a red Touriga? Yes, ma'am, Jenna, we are making a Touriga Nacional red wine. Unless all hell goes all breaks loose and we get 10 inches of rain, then it's rosé again. But red Touriga based on the vintage. So really excited. So great year, vineyards in great nick. The guys are working hard, doing well. In the final stretch, 4 weeks to go. Very excited. We have one more bottling coming up on August 12th. And that was it for the year. And then 2 weeks later, we will be bringing fruits in and making some incredible Keswick wines for you. Nothing too different other than a Petit Manseng. It's really about how do we build upon wines that we've done? How do we take the Block 2s and the 7s and make them better and concentrate them and amplify it? So working on that, got 1 or 2 things that we want to experiment with. So all signs point to an incredible vintage. It's been a wonderful growing season. You know, and super excited. Any other questions, my lovey? They're coming in fast and thick, and I am going to have a sip of a 15-year-old rosé.
I'm going to miss a few inches of this, but Jenna Morrison asks, is there any chance for a 21 V squared?
Yeah, we touch base, you know, and we'll answer it again. V squared is such a popular wine. You know, the Verdejo is there. You know, we want to make sure that we don't have to pop it in a barrel. You know, if we only have like 3 barrels worth or 4 barrels worth, we don't want to pop it in a barrel. It changes up the quality. So we need to fill up a 2,000 litre tank. So if we can get 2,000 litres, we will be making a V squared. I hope we will. I'm We will do everything that we can to make a V squared, and we will let you know. So during harvest, we're going to come to you from the cellar. We're going to do some live videos and talk to you. So Tasting Tuesday will be ongoing, but we'll be up to our eyeballs in grapes and sorting and pressing and stomping, and that should be exciting. Dennis, would you consider a Touriga port style wine? We've certainly, Dennis, I hope you're doing well, by the way. You had gallbladder surgery, I think it was. But hopefully you're doing well. And again, Dave Maddox is having surgery. And Chelsea Blevins, by the way, who was a guest on ours, has just had surgery. So, holy hell, bad timing if you're a winemaker. But, hope you guys and girls are doing really well. Send our best wishes to everybody. Touriga Port would be something that we have considered. Where to get the port, when to fortify it. But Touriga obviously is a natural use for it. Touriga, along with Tintacao, Tintaroris, what am I missing? Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tintaroris, Tintacao, Tinta Suzar, something like that is the classic blend. So we are thinking about it. This year, the Touriga, it's a little bit smaller crop than normal. We did sustain some damage, obviously. It's not that we got through the April frosts without unscathed. We lost a fair amount of Chard and a fair amount of Viognier. But the great news is we have that. We're going to make some incredible wines. So perhaps not a Touriga port this year, but certainly a Touriga red wine we're going on. Quick question for the wife. What is going on at the winery this week? Do you know who the music is and who the food truck is? And we're gonna chat while she's figuring that out. Sorry?
Bomar and Ritter are the music for that.
So Bomar and Vitter are the music. The weather is supposed to be gorgeous. Come on out, say hi. We'd love to have you. Our staff are vaccinated. We're making sure that you're safe and well. So please come out and visit. By the way, if you love this rosé, buy it. Retail is $27.95 with an added 5% discount. So that is a 30%. If you're a gold member, Wine Club, which is me, 30% off this wine. That is an additional $6.10. Buy this wine for like $20.90. Please take care of it. By the way, we've got some vineyard tours, August 21st and 22nd that weekend. I'm not sure how ticket sales are going. It's about 30 people. We've got a session from 11 to 1 and 2 to 4. If you'd want to walk around the vineyard and see what the vineyard looks just prior to harvest, I would recommend you coming out. We're going to pour some wonderful wines. We're going to have some great weather, and we're going to learn about that. So check out our website. The link for the rosé is up there, keswickvineyards.com. If you still want the bundle, if no other reason than to buy the bundle, is the huge discounts on the bundle. Cab Sav and the Syrah and the Rosé, and it's like $99. It's a normal $170 retail. So take advantage. Don't join us for Tasting Tuesday, but take advantage and buy the wine. What else can we talk about? Jana Morrison says, excited about the vineyard tour. The Sugamelis are excited about the vineyard tour. Erica says, I have to do a 24-hour shift at work. Any other weekends you might be doing vineyard tours? I'll tell you what, Erica, give me a buzz. Let me know. I'd be happy to take a stroll through the vineyards with you at any other time. Would love for you. Marsha says, do we ship to Indiana? Question is, do you ship to Indiana? And the answer is yes, we do. I'm assuming that's where the brother is. You can only buy 5 cases at a time, so I would get a case of the Chard, a case of the Viognier, a case of the Cab Franc, case of the Cab Sav, and then a mixed case of reds, and that'll last you the year. Erica says, thank you. Absolute pleasure. We do a lot of walking through the vineyards, and if you wanted to tag along, sample some fruit, we'll go from there. Matthew says, hope to see you on the 22nd. All right, as always, we are open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5. We're not doing tastings right now, but we do have flights and glasses and bottles of wine. Come join us. Come say hi. But again, while we're finishing up, number one, I hope you love the 2020 Rosé. I do. And again, I'm sorry I wasn't drinking it with you tonight, but I'm glad the Stackpoles came in and asked me to open it, so I did get to try it. It's young, it's quite tight, but it's vibrant, it's pretty, it's a beautiful wine, and I think in hindsight, it was such a great use of Cabernet in a year that was quite challenging. A lot of people say it was a rubbish year, but I would say from poor years, you get such great data. You learn about your vineyard, you learn about the spots, and as such, I think we're better equipped to make incredible wines this year. But if the weather tracks like this, the potential for the reds from our property this year is mind-blowingly staggering. The thought of getting quality of reds like we got in 2010 is phenomenal. Alison Turkel, we cannot make the tour. Again, same thing for you. If you're down, hit me up, let me know. I love walking through the vineyard, and I love walking through the vineyard with people. Donna Goff says we'll be signing up for the 22nd. Love to see it be awesome. Bob Sims, same, yeah. Wine is traveling to Indiana. Awesome. Laura says best vintage ever of rosé or in general. All right, so
France asked the blend. It's 100%.
Oh, the blend, by the way, again, and a lot of people are calling for babies. We've got to get the baby fix. The blend is 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, all estate grown. Best vintages. Well, the sentimental one is obviously 2002. It was my first vintage in Virginia. But the best vintage is always the next one. You know, the honest answer is what we've done in the past is great, but I know we can do better. We will do better. Better wines are to be made. Better fruits is to come in. Better vineyards are to be planted. So the best vintage is still coming. You know, we haven't done that yet. Thus far, I mean, vintages you want to buy 2007, 2009, 10, 14, 16, 17, 19. Those are them. And 2002. 2002 was a wonderful wine. Dennis says, we would like to buy a case of this rosé for Jim and have it shipped. Get us on the email. That's very, very kind. We would love to do that. And thank you so much. And Jim, big shout out to you. You know, God bless you and your family in Indiana. Thank you for watching, and safe travels back there as well. So 16 was a wonderful vintage, Glenn Johnson. But the 17 reds are phenomenal with time. The 19 reds are phenomenal with time. But honestly, the best vintage is the next vintage. You know, and I'm really, really stoked, excited about the potential of 2021. We're in such great shape. Looking forward to another 4 to 5 weeks of hard work in the vineyard, and then hopefully we can get the dividends of a wonderful year out there. So Kat's gone to see if the babies are awake, are in a good... Ooh, we have 2 babies tonight. We really do. Hang on a moment. Let me see. So firstly, who do we have first? Maverick's just jumping across. There's my guy. There's Maverick. Oh, there's Kath. Come on, Kath, jump on in as well. She doesn't want to. You want to give me Alakai? And let's see if they'll make some smiley faces and say hi to them. Alrighty, 1, 2. Oh no. Okay, let's see. There's the baby. Oh. Let's see, 1, 2. Yeah, alright. Alakai and Maverick, twinsies, dressed up as such, and there we go, getting big, doing well, and awesome. And not in the greatest of moods, but there we go. And hey Mavi, do you want to stay with me and say hi? Oh, I'll show you belly button. Apparently he stood up today and is just about to walk, so great day for this little guy. Look at that. Alrighty, as always, what's more important than wine is family and friends and being kind, and being good and being great. So always want to appreciate you, and a shout out to the folks in the vineyard who do such a great job. I hope you love the wine. Take advantage of the wines. Come visit us, come say hi, get out of the house. It's a great time to be in Virginia Wine County or in Virginia Wine Country. Remember to drink local, buy local, support local beers, local ciders, local spirits, local wine. Please support local. So many incredible wineries to choose from. So next week we have a special guest. We're going to keep it as a surprise, so you will join in and find, but it's someone you definitely want to hear from. The following week, the 2020 Le Vendange Syrah. A lot of people are asking about sort of decanting. Probably about an hour in a decanter, then a guest the following week, and then following that is the 2019 Block 7 Cab Sav. And again, about an hour or two for that. I do think it's one of the best wines. So, Al, I'm not sure what that is.
She's asking if that's just surprise guest.
Okay. Yeah, you know, having the boss on might be pretty awesome, might be good. But there's Alakai. So let's do this. Drinking a very surprisingly good, different, complex, age-worthy sherry-like rosé from Keswick, the 2005. If you've got this, you better drink it.